Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am Jessica Motter, and I'm so excited to share with you one of my good friends. Her name is Michelle Pemberton. Michelle is the pastor at Heartland Kids. So I go to Heartland, my husband and I, and our two daughters, and I've, just had an absolute pleasure of being able to get to know Michelle over the last few years of us going to Heartland. And I love her passion for kids and just really, anytime she gets on stage, I always learn more because she really speaks to those who didn't grow up in church and, like educating from a kid's level. So I like how she keeps things simple. Michelle, do you want to just maybe share your background and a little bit about you?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's great to be here, Jessica. Thanks for asking. I I was an accountant. That was my major in college, and after I had kids, I was volunteering at Heartland, and a part-time position came along, and within Heartland Kids, and I started doing it, and I loved it. I loved when I was a kid. Elementary school years, we had a church that we were so connected to. I sang in the choir, very different church than Heartland. It was an Episcopal church, but that sense of community and being known and needed as a kid, I have tried to recreate in all the different seasons of my life. And so that gradually a part-time job turned into a full-time job. And then I went to seminary and got ordained. And I think of myself as kind of growing up at Heartland. And, but I love this idea of, kids before the age of 13, if they hear the good news and really learn about Jesus, a third of them will follow him all the days of their lives. And for adults, they get such a great foundation if they meet Jesus as a kid. For adults, it's about 6%. And so we can change the trajectory of a kid's and a family's life. And so right now in this quarantine time, one of the things I miss the most are kids, because my kids are grown. Stacy's 30 and she's a psychologist, and Amy is 26 and she works in human resources and is getting her master's. And thankfully they both live in San Diego, so I've got a great place to visit. But one of the things I miss the most is just the kids and families that I have relationships with that I see every Sunday. So, I was a single mom for, full-time working single mom. Every mom is a working mom, FYI. Some of us work both inside and outside the house with responsibilities. And so, I really feel for you guys right now. I think we're all in the same storm with the quarantine, but each of us is in different boats. So me as a single person, an empty nester, looks very different than your life right now, Jessica, with two little kids and you and your husband trying to work at home and all the things you got a lot going on in your boat.
Yeah. And I think the reason, we actually connected, you had called and just asked how I was doing. And I'm like, wow, thanks for reaching out, first of all. But then you started saying, how are you doing? I'm like, you kind of forget, because I think you're in it. And, I try to be positive and I try to, but you forget how different your life is than most people right now. And at the same time, I shared with you, we actually, it's been good for us because we've slowed down. And some of the things I'm a visions person, so I look ahead, and I thought about where do I want to be after this is over? What things do I want to implement in our family and are important in our family that I want to kind of just take some extra time to do. And my daughters love worship music. This is how I fight my battles. Paisley's battles. They want to listen to it every day. But at the beginning of COVID-19, we were turning that on because literally I was like, what are we going to do? I have my husband's here downstairs working. I'm trying to work a business, trying to figure out this homeschooling thing. Don't know how long I'm going to be here. Can't go anywhere. Can't do anything. And it was kind of that mindset of panic and all of that I'm sure everyone felt. But I just thought about what are the things I can help liven the mood up a little bit. And so that's what we started doing, was listening to music every morning. And now we have dance parties every day, and just things like that boost our mood. And it's part of our routine now, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so that's kind of like where it started, is like we were having that conversation and I was like, I really want to interview you because I think, everybody's in a different life situation, and it's, are you doing this enough? Are you doing that enough? Like, we're all trying just to be enough and trying to, but when it comes down to it, there's certain things that I think really matter. And there are certain things that, like, we're going to look at later and say, well, that didn't really matter. It didn't
Yeah.
matter as much.
Yeah. And I loved, when we were talking on the phone, that you were thinking long term, like farther ahead. I think is sometimes in the challenges of parenting and the unique challenges you guys are facing right now, you can just be in this moment, in this day, we're just going to try to survive.
Mm-hmm.
But I love one of the things the research would really show about parenting is it really matters what are those simple habits or practices that you guys do every day, every week that make the most lasting impact. And those got to be simple, just like you brush your teeth before you go to bed. But I love that you guys have that habit of listening to worship music together. And that is actually something you could do as they grow up and talk. Obviously the conversation gets more in depth, but sometimes, just like you said, we really need to lighten the mood. That's when they're 3 or they're 13. In different ways. And so when I look back at my parenting, I think the things that made the biggest impact were the things that were just part of our schedule. Like one of the things, because I worked at a church, my kids went to church. They served at one service. So they were in helping, using their gifts. They found out what they like to do. And the other service they attended, that's just what we did. And it's not surprising to me as adult people, that they are always looking for how they can serve people and help people. Because honestly, we had to do that because
Right.
mom needed to work. But another habit that we did, one of my regrets of parenting is I did really well with the bedtime routine, like birth to 3rd grade. One-on-one time with the kids, laying down with them, reading a book and a Bible story. That was kind of you got to pick one book. Hopefully it wasn't a super long Dr. Seuss book. And then we'll do one Bible story. And they knew they could probably get more than one Bible story out of me.
Right.
And then we'd pray together. But when they hit like 3rd or 4th grade, my kids didn't need that bedtime routine anymore. And I didn't change it up to a new routine. Didn't have to be the same. They weren't reading, they were reading chapter books, but I really regret that because that was something that we could do every day. It was interesting when they hit high school and they stayed up later than me, they kind of established their own routine, which was to come into my room about 10 o'clock, lay on my bed, and we'd talk till I got tired and it was time for me to go to bed. That became a habit. So in the overwhelming, you do not need to lead a Pinterest life. Like I get on those boards, oh my word, and you can just be decision paralysis. And because I was a reader and I love to read, books were a natural place for me to connect with my kids. You may have heard me say this before, Jessica, but there were times when the house was clean and I would put my 2 girls in the bathtub and I'm like, dude, we're in here till it's bedtime. And if I need to read to you, yeah, I had a book and then they played and then sometimes I read to them. Like you just do what you need to do.
Right.
So if you love to be outside and ride your bike, do that. There isn't a one size fits all. And God designed you with unique gifts and passions and things that you love to do. Just do those things with your kids. Don't try to be somebody that you're not.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm honestly, like, I'm on this big health journey. So I'm not the mom who makes the cupcakes and the cakes and all those things, because I know if I do, I'm gonna eat the whole thing. So like, I just know that, like, I would rather like make protein balls that are healthy with them, or, find something that's healthier option, or snacks that are healthier or whatever. But I'm more of that mom to go outside and like, let's play outside, let's be outside, let's kick the ball and throw the ball. And even the 3-year-old wants to like play volleyball because I was practicing the other day and she wanted to play. And so I think it's just sometimes like we, just do what your gifts are and what the things you enjoy, because your kids are going to do it. When I work out, they want to work out.
Yeah.
there's fun yoga things, and reading too. That's a big thing. Especially since I've written a book. Like, I want my kids to read books. But yeah, I think it's,
I didn't know you wrote a book.
yeah. Here, it's right here, actually.
Oh, how fun.
Here's a little shameless plug here. So
Oh,
it's called
great.
Love Life, Be Life, Share Life.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So my next book actually will be about my faith journey.
Oh, cool.
Because I was in a Bible study at Heartland actually. And it was talking about I think it was Beth Moore, the David study, and she was talking about what are your next things, and writing and sharing your story and how people need to hear how you came to Jesus and all that. So yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I look forward to reading it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay, so let me ask you, what are some good resources for parents? I know you shared something with me a few minutes ago. What other things do you think are good?
We at Heartland use Orange curriculum, and one of the habits I'd love, especially during this quarantine season, is I'm sure you guys are watching the service together, but then watch the kids programming together. That's what they would have gotten if they came to Heartland. And I'd love to show you just a minute and a half video, because it also comes with an app. So you can put it on your iPad or your phone, and you could have, age appropriate, engaging, fun content that you can then reinforce at home. Like our elementary kids in a month of May are learning about determination and how you need to finish what you start. Like, who doesn't need that right now?
Right.
And each month they do a virtue, and they focus on it, and they look at biblical characters who have determination, and they learn a memory verse. And you guys could do this together, and kids as young as 18 months old can learn a memory verse, which is amazing to me, and they will know it their whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows when God might nudge them they're getting ready to quit their first job. And so the elementary kids right now are learning, let us not become tired of doing good. At the right time, we'll gather a crop if we don't give up. Galatians 6:9. Let us not be tired of doing good. I think we could all use that word right now. And so if there was one thing you leave today, I would love for you to know this incredible resource. We get the Bible in our hands with our phones, that's age appropriate for kids. So how about we show the video?
Okay, great. Let me put it
on. From the day your child is born to the day they graduate, you have 936 weeks. 936 weeks of soccer practice and homework, and teaching them to use deodorant. 936 weeks to instill values, to build character, and to prepare them to face the world. You want to be a great parent, and we're here to help with each moment of parenting gold. Driving your 4th grader to practice, saying goodbye to your 10th grader as he's walking out the door, eating tacos in the kitchen with your 7th grader, tucking your toddler in at night. These moments happen every week, and we want you to be aware of the time you have left, because when you are, you do more with the time you have now. We cue you with easy, just-in-time ideas of things to say, things to do, and things to think about to connect with the heart of your child. Our cues are grounded in God's big story, so your child can discover the power of faith in those everyday moments of life. Every cue fits the context of your child's developmental phase. We cue you when your high schooler won't leave their room, your middle schooler won't pick up their clothes, your 2-year-old won't stop talking. We help you understand these moments, and we help you connect. You only have 936 weeks. You can't afford to waste them. Parent Cue. It's what we do. Download it for free today.
Well, I'm so glad you shared that video with me, because I downloaded that app, and actually I downloaded, but I never logged in. So I logged in, and like it said, you had 930.
Welcome to a parent's guide to the Parent Cue app. And if you haven't downloaded the Parent Cue app, make sure that you
started it again. I'm like, wait, hold on.
Or the App Store for iOS.
Sorry, this is like the technology part. I'm like,
your free app.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and jump right in. On the first screen, you'll see when you open the app, accept whether you would like for Parent Cue to send you notifications. If you say
Okay, so they're showing you what the app looks like, but I'll include that link here too, and you can just Google it as well, and it can show you how to. So it's called Parent Q, and you can download it to your phone, your tablet. Then it asks you a few questions about your kids, ages, what church you go to, because it can actually link up. So like it can link me up to Heartland Community Church in Olathe, and then it has you put the kids' birth dates in there. So like it says you have 745 weeks left. And I'm like, oh, like, right? Like, where did 200 weeks go with Madison? And then it's like, Paisley's getting ready to turn 2. So it's like you've had 101 weeks with her and you have 835 left. And I'm like, before they move out. And I'm like, whoa, hold on.
Yeah.
Slow the boat down.
I know. It gives you a sense of context.
Yeah.
And what I love about it is it does have developmental stuff. So it's telling you like what is normal and how do kids learn at this age and what's challenging and what's good. And so, and they really make it fun. You can follow them on Instagram because they have sometimes you just need an encouraging or inspiring word in your parenting. And then follow Heartland Kids. It's HCCKS Kids. We have our own Instagram now. It's been one of the really good things that's come out of quarantine is that we have just some fun contests and ways for your kids to see our volunteers and just some fun stuff. And I think one, if you just committed to, I'm going to look that up at least once a week, and they have stuff you can do when you're driving in the car, which you're not doing very much of right now, or when you're doing bath time.
A walk or whatever.
Yeah. So one other habit when I've been thinking and praying for stay-at-home parents is the habit of self-care. I think often there's so much to do when you're a young parent with the house and the kids and the job and everything, that one of the things we put on the back burner is our own care of our body, our mind, our relationships, our soul. And don't be a martyr, because if it's like when you're on the airplane, I know it's an old analogy, but if you're sitting next to a kid and those oxygen things drop down, you need to put yours on first so that you don't faint, so that you can help your child. And so I don't know what it is, but I hear too often that moms and dads are not making space for them, because we got to have stuff in our own tank, because you guys are giving out so much. So whether it's, I have a friend, husband, wife, who he has the first hour with the kids while she gets time by herself to spend time with God, to exercise, whatever she wants that hour to look like. And then it's his turn. And whether it's being alone in your house, which doesn't happen very much, reading a book, exercising, I don't know what it is for you, but are you doing something literally every day, calling that friend and talking more than just text, like, how are you doing really? Mm-hmm. How can I be praying for you? So how are you doing with self-care, Jessica, right now?
Well, for me, I would say this is kind of cheesy, but okay, so this literally I got at Dollar Tree. Just sometimes they have magnets on them, sometimes they don't, but it's my core values. And so the first one is vibrant health, because if, like you said, in my book too, I talk about it, if you don't put your oxygen mask on first, right, you have to do that. And so a little bit about my journey. So I actually struggled with infertility, and I think a lot of that stemmed from me, because I'm such a want to help people, want to help others, that it was always to my detriment, right? So someone would be like, hey, do you want to go to coffee? And I'd be like, sure, but then I was supposed to exercise during that time. So it was one of those things, I wasn't taking care of myself because I didn't value myself enough to take care of myself. And so exercise and nutrition to me are my two top ones. So even during this time, I have written on here, banana, apple, and orange, because those are the snacks I need to eat before I can eat. Teddy Grahams are in my house, pretzels are in my house, chips are in my house, sweets are in my house, chocolate. So before I have any of those, if I have those 3 snacks, then I'm okay. And by then I don't even want those other things, right? Most of the time. But by the time I get around to it, if I do those things first, then I don't want those other things. But if I don't think about it intentionally, then I just go after those things. Yeah. Especially like I'm a stress eater. So in stress times, like now, that'd be the first thing I'd be doing, would be going after those things, right? So I don't know if you saw that the other day, someone posted a quote on Facebook about like wearing a mask in your house so that you wouldn't be eating all day long. I thought that was funny, just because I know like it can be stressful, so people will eat, and that's just like tendency what people do. And if you're not used to being home all the time, like I have been home all the time now for 3.5 years, like if your refrigerator is so close to you all the time, you don't have to think about it. It's not like you brought something to, in your backpack for lunch, or your lunch box, so that's what you have for lunch. But now you have this whole open refrigerator of food, right?
Yeah.
And then even just, I found that my spiritual time too, like really does make a difference. Like if I don't look at the Bible app in the morning and do my prayer in the morning and my gratitude in the morning before I do a lot of other things throughout the day, then I found myself getting upset easily. I found myself getting moody. I saw, just all these things happening. Stressed about things, anxious about things. So I found those things really did make a difference. And then I also like to do like one-on-one time with the girls, even if it's just 10 minutes. And Brad.
Oh, I love that.
So Kara Middleton shared this with me. She's like, even if it's just 10 minutes, like solely on them, focused on them. So Madison, her time is usually during Paisley's nap. Mm-hmm. And then Paisley, it's usually her bedtime, because I'm doing bedtime with her. And then Brad, it's usually on now that he's working from home during this time, we've been taking walks together. So they're doing their thing in the stroller, and we're, talking. So yeah, that's also important.
And you know what? Can I just highlight that one-on-one time thing is really, really important. I would find that sometimes my kids would be acting out, and really it was because we were moving so fast and I hadn't had any time where it was just the two of us. Mm-hmm. And I think it is so important. In fact, when I'm with my kids, we always get one-on-one time. Like we do stuff together, but we always make sure we get one-on-one time, because it's a different kind of connection. Yeah. No matter how old they are. One of the things that my mom and dad did that was really beautiful is when we moved to town when my oldest was 9 months old. And my mom said, hey, we don't want to be your babysitter, but we want to know our grandkids. And so for all of both my girls' lives, they each had a day, and mom would pick them up from school or preschool, and they got to decide what they did. And she didn't try to do any other thing. Like she wasn't running errands. She took them to the zoo. One of my kids loves Science City. I hate science museums. They did the arts and crafts. They made cakes. They got to call us, and they knew my parents in such a different way. Mm-hmm. And especially when Amy came along, she's like, we don't want to have the fighting or having to do sibling rivalry. We just want to be able to focus on them. And so I think it is a habit that will pay huge dividends in your relational connection and depth with your girls. That you're, and 10 minutes is awesome. Right. It doesn't have to be 2 hours. And I think that's part of what we do as parents. Well, if it can't be this great, perfect thing, if we can't, go to the ceramic place or whatever, then it just doesn't count. It's not worth it. 10 minutes of undivided attention is a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. So way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the other thing is, love, kindness, appreciation of self and others. That was a big one for me. So literally like during this time, like showering is on there for like daily things, right? And then skincare, like I put different skincare on my face. So like those two important things, even if I don't put makeup on, like those are the two most important things. And then pouring love into others, of course. But like, I think it's like, if you don't pour love into yourself first and do those things for yourself first, then it's hard to pour from an empty cup, they say, and
Yes. Yeah.
you know, all of that. So yeah, and dancing and singing, those have been like, it's so funny how that's been like the two that have stayed on their hair during this whole quarantine time, for sure. Yeah, it's been fun. Well, is there anything else that you want to share with everyone or that you want to add?
I think one of the other things I would add, especially in this beautiful springtime, and you guys can't go to playgrounds, which would be really sad to me. I spent a lot of my kids' childhood at playgrounds, but you could take a prayer walk in your neighborhood, and the Holy Spirit is talking to your kids in some ways, very profound ways, and very simple ways. So as simple as putting them in the stroller and just saying, hey, let's just tell God everything we're thankful for, because he created everything. Every good and perfect gift comes from him. So how about we just do that? What can we thank him for? And then let's just pray for our neighbors, or who do we need to pray for, and just see what emerges and listen. And it might be that there might be a neighbor that's a widow or a widower that you pray for, that you worry about being lonely. And so you guys create something for her and take it to her, and leave something, a little present for her on the front door. That would mean so much to her. After my dad died, the neighbor kids who lived next door would do that for my mom, like bring her flowers on Mother's Day and Valentine's Day. I mean, it was so sweet. They just like made her whole day with something that simple. And I think you're training your kid with a habit that those that are maybe some of the folks that are lonely or sad, or maybe feel the furthest out from God, can really be impacted by us showing kindness and love and awareness. And so I think those simple habits help really form how they look at the world. So yeah, just really fun to talk to you. Love hearing about the practices you have in your life and what you're doing. And for those who go to Heartland, or you don't go to Heartland, it's okay. But if you go to our webpage at heartlandchurch.org and scroll down, there'll be resources where you can get to our curriculum, but also some great, like, what do we do during this anxious time? Some articles that are written just for parents. So for both preschool and for elementary. But yeah, we're in this sort of digital church age, and we want to have resources for you guys.
Well, thank you, Michelle. And I'll go ahead and include the links up with this video as well. And something we've been doing, and just, I guess I'm one of those people, like, as I walk, and because we pass people on our walks, and I say hi to everybody, and then you'll hear Paisley and Madison go, hi, it's just like they resonate with it. But it's so interesting, like, no matter who it is, what age, whatever, like, we say hi to everyone. And my husband will make comments about it sometimes, and I'm just like, we just say hi. Like, he's like, well, they didn't say hi back. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so then, like, there's this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful waterfall that's down the street. And, it's about an hour there and back. But I'll ask the girls, what do you want to do today? And they're like, waterfall, waterfall. So they like love walking to the waterfall. And at, kind of in the midst of all of this, we were stopping there and praying and everything. And just because I just felt like the presence of God, like with all the waterfall and the movement of the water and everything. And then one day Madison was like, she got like super upset with me, and I'm like, what's wrong? And she goes, I pray, I do it. Like, she wanted to do it, not me. She's like, no, not you, my turn. And I'm like, okay, sure. Like, I just thought it was so profound, just so, like, all of a sudden she was like, no, I'm gonna do it. It was just so cute. I loved it. So yeah, I think it's just one of those things, like, we don't always realize what they're doing or what they're catching on to us doing. But yeah, it's just really cool to see that. So,
and how she learned to talk to God, or to want to talk to God, because that's all that prayer is by overhearing her parents do that. And so I love that story makes my day. And it's just, I'm sure you bring just simple language to it. It doesn't have to be, thank you, help, I'm sorry. Those are some great buckets of things to pray, but way to go. I love that. That's a sign that, Kids as little as 2 and 3 are trying to figure out their concept of God. Like, that's how we're wired, even if the parents are atheists. It has been shown that their little minds are going like, who created all this? How does this work? So that's what I hear in Madison. And you guys, as her primary faith shaper, are doing a great job. That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's one of the biggest things. I think I went to the, what's it called? I'm drawing a blank right now. Jenny Allen deal.
Oh, if.
And it said, what do you want your legacy to be? Like, that's what I want my legacy to be. Not like, oh, my mom or my grandma or whatever they think of me as later down the road. But I want to leave that legacy throughout our family, and changing that in our family. So anyway, it's the unchurched, right? Like we say that we're the church of the unchurched. Like, I was the unchurched coming into Heartland. So yeah, I'm just so excited for what this video is going to do, and all that will listen to it and hear it. And like Michelle and I have said, like, if you're struggling, like, just simple things can make a big difference. And I'm not someone who grew up knowing how to pray. Like, I'm still learning. I've had to get up and pray in front of people at like Heartland before, not at like the women's groups. And I'm like, oh gosh, like, what do I say? I'm like that prepared person. But I think sometimes, like, even with my kids, I'm like, they don't know if I'm doing it right or not. So I feel like I can be the most vulnerable with them. But it's so cool just to see, like, with Madison and Paisley, like, how they're leaning into that and what they're learning. And, the time right now that we've slowed down so much, like, I feel like that's been really good for our family. So, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Awesome. Well, you have a good day, Michelle. Thank you for being on.
Sure. Thanks so much for asking. Loved our conversation.